Thank you so much for being with us. This is the successofmoneyfoundation.org. We're a nonprofit educational foundation. We teach kids, teens, young adults, and adults about success and money. Well, because most likely you skipped some of those classes in school, or you didn't take those classes, or you didn't pay attention, or they didn't teach you enough of those classes. What's the purpose of going to school? The purpose of going to school is to learn how to be successful. The purpose of going to school is to learn how to have a better life. It's not to learn how to dissect a frog. It's how to have a better life and how to help other people have a better life. Why are you put on this earth? You were put on this earth, in my opinion, so you could have a physical experience to go along with your spiritual body. Now, that's just me talking here, but that's kind of what I think. So you're here and you're playing the game. We're all in the game. And guess what? Games are fun. So we're going to play the game. Now, we're going to be doing multiple sections today, but the first section I want to talk about is one of the sections because we had lots of people asking, well, what happens when Warren Buffett retires? Because as you know, that's one of our big holdings of what we do. And we had a wonderful meeting on Saturday. We had a lot of people from all over the world that jumped onto our Zoom class, and we did this together and watched Warren Buffett and all of the things that he did. And I just want to talk a little bit about that. So the big misnomer is that Warren Buffett's running this thing and running all of this thing. Well, no, he's been running it for many years, and he is the chief executive officer. He is the chairman of the board. But this is a massive company. This is a big company. And the big thing I want you to really get is that Warren Buffett built a team that built Berkshire Hathaway. Walt Disney and his brother Roy built a company that built Disneyland. They built a company first that built Disneyland. Okay, they didn't build it themselves. They supervised it. They had the creative genius to it. They figured out how to come up with the financing for it, but they didn't build it. Their company built it. And after Walt passed away, quite a few years later, Roy passed away, but then people came in from that team and made it flourish. And so that is the same thing with Berkshire Hathaway, is that it's a massive operation. It's a massive operation. And the biggest thing that Warren does himself personally is that he allocates assets and income as it comes in to figure out, hey, these are the businesses that are really doing well. Let's put more into this. But he's just a part of that team. And the big thing I want you to take away, and we're going to go to the report because it was wonderful watching him talk. And I've been to that conference multiple. I think I've been there 3 times. I've watched it multiple years. I've got 3 of his autographs. I've met him in passing. He's a great guy. My dad was 4 days older than Warren Buffett, and my dad taught me the same kind of things that Warren Buffett has taught his family and has taught people. On his headstone, he wants the word teacher. He doesn't want the word world's greatest investor. He wants the word teacher put on there. But I want to talk a little bit about what happens when he passes away. And the same thing is true with Apple Computer and Apple iPhones. Steve Jobs did not build the iPhone. Steve Jobs and Tim Cook built a team that built the iPhone and the computer. So Steve was very instrumental in the vision of it and which things that they really tracked down. They used to have all kinds of projects they do, and Steve came in and says, we're getting rid of all these other projects. We're going to be the very best in these 3 areas, and that's what we're going to be. And when Steve passed away, Tim Cook took over, and Tim's made it flourish more than when Steve was there. Why? Because just like at Disney, when Disney got started, Walt and Roy, they sold everything to finance these early films that they did and to finance Disneyland. I mean, it was really tight. The train and the monorail, Disney didn't even own them. Walt did. And he used his own money to put those things in because he wanted them in the park because Disney just didn't have the money. But then you saw Michael Eisner that came in later, and he took all those things and he leveraged the heck out of them. And he took that beautiful brand and he made it grow like crazy. And so what's going to happen when Warren retires? Well, I'm just going to take my thought on it. I think it's going to do as good or better. Now, that's saying a lot because Over my lifetime, 65 years, 66 years since he's been running Berkshire Hathaway, it's averaged 19%. Now, some years it goes up, some years it goes down, some years it goes crazy, some years it goes off. He himself has said that the supply and demand, and remember, a big part of any stock is supply and demand. The more people, the more demand, the more people that are buying it, guess what? That stock or that real estate or that product or shoes, I don't care what it is, the more people want it, and there's the number of people want it versus how much is there, it goes up in price. But when everybody's selling it, they don't want it, or there is not near as much demand, then the price is going to go down. And Warren said it himself 3 times that the company's stock is traded for half of what the value of the companies were. And again, there's 189 separate businesses that they own, plus billions and billions of dollars in stock, which means they own chunks of businesses. And the big thing was he said, you know what, Mr. Market's kind of this fanatic person. They find the new fad. A person's smart, but a bunch of people can be stupid because they see, well, one person's doing it, starts a trend, this scarcity, whatever it is. And, sometimes you're going to have the supply. You get a lot of demand, a lot of demand, a lot of people are chasing it. So the price goes up. Then when they start getting away from that, then, and the demand changes, then the prices go down. So the big thing, the big takeaway is I want you to think about this over a long period of time. So I'm just going to tell you my opinion on it. And my opinion is I was very sad when Steve Jobs passed away. And I'll be very, very sad when Warren Buffett passes away. I mean, he's 94, he'll be 95 in August. And but he's built an incredible operation. And he and Charlie have a whole massive team. When they acquire a business, they don't come in with management. They say, we're interested in acquiring this business, but we want you to stay on. We want you as the founders to stay on and to go make it work. That's a huge, huge difference. He says, we're not going to supply the management. None of that. We'll supply the capital. We'll supply some best practices that we can help you with, but we're looking for generational management to come in and to take it to the next level. We're not looking for turnarounds. We're looking to invest in wonderful companies at a fair price. What he's talking about. It's a company that's number one, two, or three in the marketplace that has a huge moat around their castle. So it's hard for it to get attacked because there's this castle in the middle and there's a moat and there's alligators in the moat and they pull up the drawbridge and it's hard for somebody to take them down. Coca-Cola, it's really hard for somebody to take Coca-Cola down. It's not going to happen. And people are addicted to it. iPhones, they have a big stake in Apple and people are addicted to their iPhone. Or your phone itself. When you walk away from it, you don't know where it is, you get in a panic. He likes those kinds of things. People are addicted to it. They own Gillette razors. Well, every morning, millions of people get up, men get up and they shave, and women do too. So, shave their legs or whatever. He likes that stuff that they use. They own Fruit of the Loom clothing. And he says, well, people have to wear underwear. And so we want to be the biggest with that. So he buys those kinds of things and he invests in those kinds of companies. But I want you, as you know, this is a big part of what we invest in. And so I want to take you to the website, and I want you to take it to their annual report. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to share that as well. So Josh, if you can come and take both of those at the same time, that would be terrific. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the report here, and we're just going to take a gander at some of the cool stuff that we have on here. Okay. All right, so give me a second here. Let's get to the special report. In fact, just give me a second. Let me go grab it, all right? So you can also search on Google and go get the report yourself as well. Okay, there it is right there. And let's go and share here. Um, and here it comes right here. So here's the report right there. Josh, you can see that fine? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, so now the big thing that I want you to see and understand when we look at this is how it's done. I want you to take a look at this is the report. Now, when you guys watched the event itself, the event was great, but it was very nostalgic. He's been doing this for a lot of time. He knew that he was going to hand over the final decision powers to Greg, who's in his 60s. So he's got a long run rate to be able to go. And here's the annual report. But so they didn't talk a lot about it, but I just want to show you some stuff here that makes a huge difference. Why do we like it so much? Well, what is Berkshire Hathaway? Well, there are, and I highly, highly recommend you read his reports because it is a overview of what's going on in the world from somebody that's been there and done that. This isn't, when I invest, I like to hear from young guys that are kind of out there doing it, but I really like to hear the guys in the gray hair. When I do my big investing and stuff like that, I want to hear from the guys that's been doing it for 20 or 30 years. They've been there, they've done that, they've seen how stuff works. And there's just the whole story that he writes. And he says, I'm going to write this letter as if I'm writing it to my older sister who's not in the business. You know, she's not in the business of doing this. This is my business. But the big thing that I want you to really understand is that Berkshire Hathaway really started as a textile company that he invested in, and then he took a controlling interest in it. And it wasn't doing well. But what he did was he took all the profits from that and he invested it in other stuff. And so a big part of what they have is insurance. Okay. And you can see there's Geico Insurance right here. Geico Insurance is a massive insurance company. And what he loves about it is that they charge people money for car insurance. And Geico is actually a government employee insurance company. That's what Geico stands for, which is a very unique group. They know who they are. They know what the profile of that person is, and they sell them car insurance, and they bring in premiums, and they take those premiums and they go invest those premiums. He's got billions and billions and billions of dollars of what they call float, which is money that's come in to do insurance, car insurance, but it hasn't. There hasn't been a car accident, so he doesn't have to pay that money out, and they've got hundreds of billions of dollars that way. So it started out small, but that's really what it is right now. Is it's this huge insurance company and multiple insurance companies. So that's a big part of that. Okay. So insurance is a big part of what they do. They have 189 companies that they own, and then they have billions and billions and billions of dollars invested in publicly traded companies. And he loves it when there's a problem in the marketplace. He loves it. That's where they make a lot of their money. He loves it when there's blood in the streets because he loves to go buy stuff at great prices. He says we want to buy a wonderful company at a fair price. Well, he wants to buy a wonderful company at a great price. And then you just talk about all the wonderful stuff that they've done. But as you go through here, they paid a lot in taxes. They paid $1 million a day, $1 million every 20 minutes through 2024. Um, they paid more than that in taxes. So he has no problem with paying taxes. The company's making a lot of money. And the best part about this is it's a stock. So there's no money under management. So when you invest in this, there is no money under management. For example, when you do a mutual fund, they're going to charge you 1 to 2% of your money. So if you have $100 in there, they're going to charge you $2. If your stock went up, say 6% for easy math, and they charged you two, they just took 33% of your income out. So this talks a lot about them. I would go back and just read all of these as you can so you get a good idea. This is a massive operation. And I personally don't think it's going to lose a beat. In fact, I think in some ways it's going to do even better. They saw the writing on the wall. They got a whole bunch of money into cash. They got about $350 billion in cash right now. And that cash is designed, they're looking for deals. They're looking for deals, and they're going to walk in and he's okay with not investing it until he finds a wonderful deal. So a big part of that is Ajit Jain that's been with him for decades. And so they have a couple sides of the business. One is the insurance business, and the other one is the non-insurance businesses. So Ajit has been running that one for decades, and that's going to continue. Greg is going to be the new CEO, but Greg's going to be handling the operating businesses. And then he's got Ted and Todd as the main guys that are handling all the securities, all the stocks and stuff that they're doing. So you can see this is a pretty amazing what they're doing. Talks about the big gathering here. I highly recommend that you go to Google and search the Berkshire Hathaway conference, and you can actually watch the whole thing. So this is talking about that. Okay, this is the big thing right here that I want you to really look at. This is the side-by-side comparison. Remember, there's four ways that you can invest in stock market. Now, why do we talk so much about the stock market? Well, because of the seven habits. Number one, you got to make more money. Two, separate it. Number three is to give. Number four is to automatically invest. So we automatically pull money out of our savings account, our checking account on a monthly basis and put it into a separate account for our long-term investing. That's crucial. That's key. And the automatic part is it automatically moves. I don't care if the stock's going up. I don't care if the stock's going down. What I care about is accumulating shares because I'm going to sell this stuff, but I'm not going to sell it for 10 years, 20 years. If this is what you're trying to do in the first year, well, that's different. Okay, if you're trying to make money in the next 20 minutes or the next 2 days, well, then your strategy is totally different. I'm looking at long term. So that is a big part. But the big part here is that you can pick and choose, but you pick and choose, you lose. Number two is the mutual funds. And mutual funds are great, but the problem is there's fees that are attached to those. Number three is the S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies in America that are global. And then, of course, there's Berkshire Hathaway. S&P has a fee to it, but it's only about half of 1%. So it's not very much because they're not picking and choosing. They're just taking the 500 biggest companies and they're putting that into an index. And so when you invest in the S&P 500, you own a little bit of all 500 of those companies. And they're global. They're all over the world. And then the last one is Berkshire Hathaway, and it's a stock. So there's no money under management, zero. And so what's so cool is that if you come back here and you look at how well it's done, here is what Berkshire's done since 1965 versus the S&P. Now, some years you'll notice here that the S&P has outperformed it. Made a lot of money that year. Here's a couple of years that it just did really, really great. I'm looking for a company that's been around for 65 years, not one that's been around for 6 minutes. Now, when you take a look at your assets and you take 100% of something, well, part of that money you're going to put into bonds. You're going to loan or own. So if you're going to own stuff, what are you going to own? Well, there's all kinds of things you're going to own, but for this case, we're just going to be talking about your securities or your stock. We're going to own lots of real estate. We're going to own businesses, but that's habit number 6. We're going to talk about habit 4 right now, which is to automatically invest. And so out of 100, you're going to put some into loan. You're going to buy bonds, which is the merry-go-round. It's just going to go straight. You say, I'm going to get a 5% rate of return. You put it in there and it's just 5%. I have an older sister and she doesn't want to play the roller coaster at all. She's older than I am. She says, screw it. I just want my 5% on it. And if I get money on it and I have to pay taxes on it, but I don't care. I don't want to ride the roller coaster. I want to be on a scooter going through the park. Whereas my grandkids are like, get me on the craziest ride you can get me on because they just love that up and down. My special needs son loves that roller coaster. Now, you can make that roller coaster smaller. If you buy one share of stock of a company or some crypto crap, not Ethereum and not Bitcoin, but other crypto crap, that sucker moves 5 to 7% a day. It's going up and down. What we want to do is we want to get onto a pretty tame roller coaster that has hundreds of companies. Hundreds of companies. The S&P 500 has 500 companies. Berkshire is very similar to that, except for it's been kind of handpicked on which companies that they have. And it's not going to be much of that roller coaster. Okay, it's going to be a lot more smooth. So that's kind of the key that we're looking for. But the big thing that I want you to look at is how well it's done. So you can see there's years it's done really well. There's a year that it went down by half. The people freaked out, whatever's going on in 1974, but the company didn't change much. It still had the same operating companies. It's just that a lot of people got scared or whatever, but look what happened 2 years later. It doubled in size. You went up 80%, then it went down 40%. Now this is part of the big roller coaster here, but you'll notice that doesn't happen as much after it gets more seasoning. And so, I mean, it doubled in 1 year right there versus the S&P that did 18%. And again, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. You do whatever you want with your money. The money I give you, this is what I'm going to ask you to do is to use your head on that. But then you get into a little bit more into more modern. Here's 1995. You can see same thing. But on average, it's usually beat the S&P 500. And if we look at the last handful of years, I mean, it did 25% in 24, did 15%, did 4. The S&P lost some money there. And so I'm not looking at what's happens on a year by year basis. I'm looking at a trend. What's happened over the last here's the last 10 years right here. So you can see that you got a pretty good rate of return right there. Um, but on average, if it does 8%, if it does 12%, it doubles every 6 years. If it does 6%, it doubles every 12 years. If you have your money sitting in your savings account, it's never going to double. And so you got to get your money working for you. So, it's done a massive amount over that 65 years. The big thing I want you to look at is, well, what's happened in the last handful of years? And is that trend? The one thing that you want more than anything else is the ability to predict the future. What do you want in your investing? The ability to predict the future. The way you predict the future is study the past. In your businesses, the most important thing you can do is predict the future. And you go predict the future, you make some moves, you see how it happened, see how it worked. If it worked great, you do more of it. If it didn't work great, you do something different. But you study successful people, you study successful businesses, you understand how they operate, and then you put your own flair to it or your own product with it. Okay, so that's kind of a big part of that. Now let's continue to look through here on the report about all the stuff that's happening on here. This is the kind of the fun stuff that if you really want to get into it, this is where you're going to be reading all this stuff. And they've got 392,000 people working with them. I mean, that's a massive amount. Warren doesn't manage any of those people. They've got an office of about 20 people that work with all their operating businesses. But a big part of that is the insurance business. They are massively insurance. So they do an awful lot of that. In addition to that, you can see that's talking all about insurance and different insurance companies that they have. Now, the other big stuff that they got property, they got health, they've got more than just car insurance. And then they've got rail operations, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. They spent like $38 billion and bought that because people need to move stuff. And so he talks about the railroad business. Berkshire Hathaway Energy. This is really where Greg Abe will come from. Because he was part of Mid-America. And when they acquired Mid-America, he came with it, and he's been working with Warren for decades. And so they're into utilities. Utilities. Everybody's got to pay their utility bill. Okay, pretty simple. Not a lot of competition to it. Then they've got some non-energy businesses that they are big parts of. So just kind of going through there, you can see there's Lubrizol, which is a big company that they own. Um, all kinds of other businesses, or 189 operating businesses that they've got. And you can go through this and see all these wonderful companies that they're part of. And if they don't like the business, they'll sell them. This is a big one. They're a big real estate guy. Oh my gosh, real estate. Do you think that? Yep. Well, so they own Clayton Homes. And in 2024, Clayton Homes built 50,000 homes. Well, that's a lot of homes. So not only are they in the real estate business, but they are also in the paint business and in the carpet business and everything else. And so they have all these companies that kind of work with each other. And so that's a big operation right there. So there's the flooring companies that they own that helps with their other companies. John, so all these are work together. Benjamin Moore Paint, everybody else. Okay, big companies. Then in addition to that, you've got all kinds of other stuff. There's the Fruit of the Loom company that they own. Hey, we own. People have to buy underwear, so we're going to be the clothing business for that. Duracell, big company. That's the battery business. Okay, so they're probably the number one business there. Pilot Travel Centers. These are big truck stops that are all over the world, and they've Flying J and stuff like that. These are big operations. There's 677 travel centers. Okay, that's a lot. And people have to have gas, and so that's what they're filling, and they're one of the biggest out there. They do a lot of stuff with NetJets. They've taken jets and figured out how to basically timeshare them with people. Retailers, there's Berkshire Hathaway Automotive. They have a massive automobile operation that they bought. Um, 83 dealerships here in this one operation. So they have all kinds of those. Home furnishings, big Nebraska Furniture Mart. My friend that runs RC Willey, Bill Childs. Bill Childs, that operation has made more money after they sold the company to Buffett than they made by building the business, which is pretty incredible. They made more money after they sold the business to Buffett than they made building the business. See's Candy, they bought See's Candy for $25 million, and it made, at the time, $5 million a year. So it paid for itself in 5 years. Well, they've grown that to be a massive operation now. So it's a lot bigger than when they started. Um, so that's a big, big operation. Okay, good stuff like that. Talks a little bit about some of the risk factors and stuff of all the stuff that they do. Let's see if there's more fun stuff here. See, I just love seeing how businesses operate and how they do it. It's just fascinating to me to see how they do it. So there's more data here. Berkshire Hathaway Energy, this is the big utility companies, you know, big operations. And this is really where Greg came from. And it's a big part of what they do. And so he's got all these guys running the stuff. So I don't think it's going to miss a step. I think it's actually going to do really, really well. And again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. Now, Berkshire Warren's not selling any of his stock. He's giving it away, and it's all going to go to charity. Um, but this is pretty amazing when you come in here and you look at how much they're doing. And these are millions, and so that's $9 billion. That's $88 billion that they did uh, in that section right there. Insurance, massive insurance. There's Geico, and it goes into great detail, on what they've done, the premiums and everything else. If you want to learn, this is how you learn. You learn, and what he does, he spends 5-6 hours a day, and what he does is that he really looks at balance sheets. He looks at where companies been, where they're going, and when people are selling. He loves it when people get scared and sell stuff because he loves to buy stuff, and his whole operation's that way. Um, and Ted and Todd are actually better at it than he is because, Warren grew up without technology and these other guys have had technology. And so it was Ted and Todd that really got into the Apple investment, which has made a fortune, which has just made just a fortune. Here's all the money they've got in cash. Well, so on the loan side, they've got treasury bills and they've got 200 and there's $212 billion, it looks like just in treasuries. So, I mean, they've got about 350 overall with everything they've got. And it just goes into the top line revenues of everything, which is pretty amazing stuff. So what I'm trying to get, what the big thing that I want you to really kind of see and understand is the big, and I get this from a lot of people. Well, what's going to happen when Warren passes away? Well, he built a company that does all this stuff. Warren, the operation in Omaha has only got, 20 people in it probably. And they work with all these companies that they own, but these other companies run all that stuff. Um, he mostly does asset allocation. So as it makes money, he says, well, these companies are doing really well. So let's do more of that. But he's got a whole team that does it. He's Warren and Charlie build a company that is going to survive them and it's going to do much better. I think it'll do just as good or better as it goes forward because it's a company, 189 operating companies. They're already out there. They're already running. So that's why we like Berkshire so much. And again, as we talk about the 7 steps, you got to learn how to make more money. You've got to do the 7 habits. But when it comes to investing, I put my money in automatically, Warren, and 500 biggest companies in America and all these operating companies are automatically making me money. So I'm not spending my time doing that. I'm spending my time in number one, making more money. I'm spending my time in number six. I'm spending my time in number seven, which is the wealth formula, and just analyze. And actually, I'm spending most of my time in number three, which is giving away, because all the rest of the stuff is an automatic pilot. Automatically, they're doing this for us. And now what I'm doing, I'm spending my time doing something that's crazy, which is to build this foundation. So that's what I like about Berkshire Hathaway. I don't think you're gonna, I don't think it's gonna miss a beat. Again, the Berkshire's gone down 50% three times in the last 65 years. The companies haven't massively changed. It's just supply and demand, and people are chasing a different rabbit. Um, that's my opinion on it. So, guys, a big part of that, study successful people. Number one, make more money. Way you do that, study successful people. And this is the guy you need to study. So I want you to go study him and study successful people. If you'll do that, it'll work.